The North American F-100 Super Sabre is an American supersonic jet fighter aircraft that served with the United States Air Force from 1954 to 1971 and with the Air National Guard until 1979. The F-100 flew extensively over South Vietnam as the Air Force's primary close air support jet until being replaced by the more efficient subsonic LTVA-7 Corsair II. The F-100 also served in other NATO air forces and with other U.S. allies. In January 1951, North American Aviation delivered an unsolicited proposal for a supersonic day fighter to the United States Air Force. The mock-up was inspected on the 7th of July 1951, and after over 100 modifications, the new aircraft was accepted as the F-100 on the 30th of November 1951. The Air Force Operational Test Center was scheduled to use 4 of the fighters in operational suitability tests, and the other 2 were to undergo armament tests by the Air Force Armament Center. The aircraft could develop a sudden yaw and roll, which would happen too fast for the pilot to correct and would quickly overstress the aircraft structure to disintegration. Delays in the Republic F-84F Thunderstreak program pushed the Tactical Air Command to order the raw F-100A into service. The North American F-107 was a follow-on Mach 2 development of the F-100 with the air intake moved above and behind the cockpit. Due to ongoing problems, the USAF began phasing out the F-100A in 1958, with the last aircraft leaving active duty in 1961. The definitive F-100D aimed to address the offensive shortcomings of the F-100C by being primarily a ground attack aircraft with secondary fighter capabilities. In 1967, the USAF began a structural reinforcement program to extend the aircraft's service life from the designed 3,000 flying hours to 7,000. In foreign service, the Royal Danish Air Force and Turkish Air Force F-100 soldiered on until 1982. Over the lifetime of its USAF service, 889 F-100 aircraft were destroyed in accidents, involving the deaths of 324 pilots. The deadliest year for F-100 accidents was 1958, with 116 aircraft destroyed, and 47 pilots killed. The selected pilots trained on the F-100A at Edwards Air Force Base and George Air Force Base in California, and then at Palmdale Air Force Base for training with the actual RF-100 as with which they would be deployed. Once pilot training was completed in April 1955, 3 aircraft were deployed to Bitburg Air Base in Germany, flying to Brookley AFB in Mobile, Alabama, cocooned, loaded on an aircraft carrier and delivered to Short Brothers at Sydenham, Belfast, for reassembly and preparation for flight. Many attempts were made to intercept these aircraft to no avail, with some photos of fighter airfields clearly showing aircraft climbing for attempted intercepts. In mid-1958, all 4 remaining RF-100s were returned to the U.S. and later supplied to the Republic of China Air Force in Taiwan. On the 16th of April 1961, 6 Super Sabres were deployed from Clark Air Base in the Philippines to Don Muang Royal Thai Air Force Base in Thailand for air defense purposes, the first F-100s to enter combat in Southeast Asia. They served as MiG combat air patrol escorts for F-105 Thunderchiefs, Misty Fax, and Wild Weasels over North Vietnam, and were then relegated to close air support and ground attacks within South Vietnam. On the 4th of April 1965, as escorts protecting F-105s attacking the Ton Hoa Bridge, F-100 Super Sabres fought the USAF's first air-to-air jet combat duel in the Vietnam War, in which an F-100 piloted by Captain Donald W. Kilgus of the 416th Fighter Squadron shot down a Vietnam People's Air Force MiG-17, using cannon fire, while another fired AIM-9 Sidewinder missiles. During a confirmation hearing before Congress in 1973, Air Force General George S. Brown, who had commanded the 7th Air Force during the war, stated that 5 of the best Super Sabre squadrons in Vietnam were from the Air National Guard. The Air National Guard F-100 squadrons increased the regular USAF by nearly 100 Super Sabres in theater, averaging, for the Colorado Eng F-100s, 24 missions a day, delivering ordnance and munitions with a 99.5% reliability rate. Between them, at the cost of 7 F-100 Air Guard pilots killed and the loss of 14 Super Sabres to enemy action, the squadrons expended over 4 million rounds of 20mm shells, 30 million pounds of bombs and over 10 million pounds of napalm against their enemy. The Hun was also deployed as a 2-seat F-100F model, which served as a fast FAC or Misty FAC in North Vietnam and Laos, spotting targets for other fights. These aircraft deployed to Korat Royal Thai Air Force Base, Thailand, in November 1965, began flying combat missions with the 388th Tactical Fighter Wing in December. French Air Force Super Sabres of the EC-1/3 Navarre flew combat missions, striking from bases within France against targets in Algeria. Turkish Air Force F-100 units were used during the Turkish invasion of Cyprus in 1974. After each flying hour, the ground personnel had to spend over 100 hours on the aircraft maintenance. The first operational aircraft in United States Air Force inventory capable of exceeding the speed of sound in level flight. On the 4th of April 1965, the first USAF aircraft to engage in aerial jet combat during the Vietnam War, while escorting F-105 Thunderchiefs to target. RF-100A6 F-100A aircraft modified for photo reconnaissance in 1954. Retired from USAF service in 1958, the surviving 4 aircraft were transferred to the Republic of China Air Force and retired in 1960. QF-100 and other 209 D&F models were ordered and converted to unmanned radio-controlled full-scale aerial target drones and drone directors for testing and destruction by modern air-to-air missiles used by current U.S. Air Force fighter jets. F-100J unbuilt all-weather export version for Japan. F-100K unbuilt design study for a 2-seat F-100F powered by AJ-57P55 engine. F-100L unbuilt design study for a single-seat F-100D powered by AJ-57P55 engine. F-100N unbuilt version with simplified avionics for NATO customers. F-100S proposed French-built F-100F with Rolls-Royce Spey turbofan engine. Denmark Flyvabnet operated a total of 72 aircraft. France. The Armée de l'Air was the first non-US Air Force to receive the F-100 Super Sabre. A total of 100 aircraft were supplied to France, and assigned to the NATO 4th Allied Tactical Air Force. Taiwan. The only non-US Air Force to operate the F-100A model. After service with the French Air Force, it was returned to USAF, repainted in USAF markings, and in 1976 to Gate Guardian at RAF Wethersfield, England.